I will show you a very easy way to instantly improve at chess without needing to memorize or study anything. I will demonstrate this by playing a game with my rating climb account. We are about 1400 rating right now. So one of the simplest ways to improve at chess is just to stick to very solid principles, which basically means that all you need to do is you need to put a pawn in the center. Here we can play a setup like this, develop our pieces, and castle. This is usually what I always play, a very simple setup. I am basically not trying to do anything special. Here my opponent is playing a bit of a strange variation. I honestly haven't really seen this much before. It's like a delayed Dutch defense, but it doesn't really matter what your opponent plays, as long as you just stick to playing solid, normal, logical, sensible moves. You are going to have a great time, and your opponents will eventually self-destruct. I think black here is already playing some strange moves. So what I'm doing for white here is the same I always do. I just develop some pieces, put some pawns in the center, and I see what my opponent does. At some point they might make a mistake. Here I don't think they have made a huge mistake just yet, but this position for black, it's already not that great. And you really don't need to beat your opponent. Your opponents will just defeat themselves. What I will do is play my C, D, and E pawns. Those are the pawns I always use. So I am going to push the pawn here to E4 and basically break open the position, because of course we do have to do something. We do have to make sure that we are always slightly improving our position. I am going to capture this. That basically forces them to take back with the pawn, and that also opens up a diagonal towards the king. So it's already looking a little bit dangerous for my opponent here. I am going to develop queen to b3. It's just, again, a slow improving move. We slowly improve the position. We attack a weakness. We also attack the diagonal, and we are setting up some threats. And I'm not really doing anything spectacular. I'm basically just seeing if my opponent is going to make a mistake. This is a smart defense by them, because if I push, they can block with the bishop. But I am going to just develop my rook here to basically make that impossible, and also attack their bishop. So again, very normal logical moves. You should be able to find moves like this. We are just developing pieces. I am honestly not doing anything spectacular here at this point. Just developing pieces. C5 is a bit of a strange move, but I do understand why they play it. It's probably just because they don't want us to be able to push ourselves. But I think that is fine. I am just going to ignore it for now, because even if they take, we just have a piece that can recapture. Instead, I am going to move forward. I'm always just looking for a way to simply improve my position. For example, put the knight here, attack the bishop. That's a slow improvement move. And I'm going to see what they play. They can play whatever they want. We can then calculate on the next move to find a new plan, which could maybe involve something with the bishop here. Maybe we could play the bishop to e3, so we can try to put some pressure. There are basically a bunch of different things that we could try. Bishop to f6. I think that is a bit of a strange move, but it is probably playable. Yeah. The reason why I think it's a strange move is because I can always capture with a check. They have to move the rook, and then I can just develop a piece for free and at the same time attack. And if he plays this move, which looks logical, I think he might be in trouble at the end of the variation. But he doesn't, he goes back. But black is making some very small mistakes here. They are just giving us a little bit more time, a little bit of tempo. That is what this is called. And they are giving us some extra time to make some good moves, while they are not really doing anything, honestly. What is a good plan here? I am just thinking what we could potentially do. This square looks nice as well. I think maybe there might be some plan of pushing and then trying to put a knight in there in the future. I think that might be interesting. Maybe playing pawn to a4 so we can prevent a pawn push, but I do think I am going to push this, because I'm taking away two squares, and it also makes it quite difficult for this knight to develop. And we are setting up this structure. My queen is not really doing that much anymore right here, but I'm just always looking for very simple moves. We don't want to overextend. We don't want to calculate something crazy. We don't want to do a random sacrifice. That doesn't work. Just trying to play solid moves, and I think we are already in a better position. But this will probably be a little bit more of a grindy game, I think. Was that possible the previous move as well? Yeah, I think this might also be a plan. This move, basically hitting the rook, hitting the pawn, they have to exchange, allowing our rook to infiltrate, which looks nice, I would say. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is their knight going in here. So I think I am just going to stop that first. Again, a move which 100% doesn't lose me the game. And then on the next move, I am thinking about some strategies like this. And even if they slide over the rook, that's fine. Because I'm always rather safe than sorry in these types of positions. I don't always even play the sharpest moves or the best moves. It's more about not making any mistakes. Because at the end of the day, the player that wins is the player that doesn't make the blunder. So that is my chess philosophy. I think we have this move. Attack the rook, attack the pawn, and if they take, they activate our rook, which is fine as well. We now have a beautifully placed rook here, which we can back up with a different rook as well. Plus, very important, do you remember I talked about the importance of this square? Well, now I have a path there with my knight if I want. That is again a bit of a strange move. They are allowing us to swap the rook and also force their king out, but I don't think it's smart. I think it's better for us to just play, again, a very normal move. We are just going to defend the rook. And it feels to me like there should be some problem here at some point. I could have also captured and went with the knight here and the knight in. I think that's also possible. Yeah. Is he going to play the king over? Yeah, I would say that was going to be a crazy move, but he is going to move the queen. Alright, I think it's just time to go back with the rook. I'm going to go here and then see if we can double up. Still, it's white who is better in this position. But we still have to find a way to break through. I think it might have been a little bit sharper to play the knight there earlier maybe. And go in. We will see. Still nothing lost. By the way, all of this strange maneuvering he did also left this pawn unprotected, which is also a double attack on two of his pieces. So yeah, looks to me like that is the first blunder of the game. And that is my entire chess philosophy. You don't need to beat your opponent. Your opponent will beat himself eventually. And I think that was the first big mistake. It's just a pawn, probably. If he plays this, I think it's just going to be a pawn, but it's already, or two pawns, but it's already starting to look a little bit dangerous. Although my queen is also doing a protective duty, but since I had this smart move with the rook earlier here, my rook is also protecting this. Or he can move back the queen. I didn't think about that move, but I think that's also possible. Alright. Yeah. Everything fine, honestly, nothing much going on. I will get my queen out of there because you probably know, just like I do, that there is a chance that we will lose the queen if we stay there for too long. So I'm just going to move back and see if we can reactivate or do something else, maybe push some pawns. Yeah, that was to be expected. That is why I moved my queen in the first place. But now I have an interesting diagonal to work with as well here. And we might be pushing some pawns. Maybe creating a passed pawn as well here in the future. So yeah, I think this game is going great as far as demonstrations go. For my chess principles, just focus on not making mistakes. That is our main goal here. Let's see what we do. Let's see what we do here. Which is a move that improves our position and is also guaranteed not to be a mistake. B4 looks interesting. Takes, and we just have a solid setup. We can push in the future. If they don't take, we might push or grab this ourselves. I think this looks solid after some small calculation. If they take, they also give us another square for the knight. The only thing I'm not sure of is if they don't take, which I think that's the smart thing to do, to not take, what we are going to go for then. We can always swap and just create a square for the knight, but I don't know if it will be enough. Also, we would be pinning our knight to the queen potentially, so still not 100% sure what's going on there, but they are taking, which I think is the wrong approach, since now we have a 3 versus 1 basically, and that means we should be able to push and try to create some sort of advantage. But we can't push right now, otherwise we would be dropping this pawn. But maybe it is finally time to go to the beautiful square with the knight, or maybe this square. Those are the squares I have been looking at for this entire game. He basically created that weakness, that problem way back in the beginning, about 20 moves ago. But I think now it's time to use it. Plus, of course, we also have a very simple double attack here on this pawn. So he had to defend this probably, but that would also be a problem, I think. What are we going to do? Taking this with the knight leads to a fork, also an exchange. Taking this with the bishop. I think taking it with the bishop is the most interesting. I do have to watch out for this because that is pinned. What is the best move? I think probably then taking with the knight first makes most sense, because we have that threat immediately, the fork. And if he takes with the bishop, he gets this problem. And we have the time to put the bishop here with a check. Or, if he goes crazy, give the check and win the knight backwards. That was my plan as well in this position. Alright, and that's basically how you win chess games without memorization, without anything complex. Just beat your opponent with simplicity.